Welcome everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is John Blur and welcome to my Getting Started newbie series, basically on tools and tricks to help you with growth and get you prepared for a growth mindset. Things I really feel like everybody needs to grow and make your growth a little bit faster. Things you're going to be picking up along the way. Now, if this is your first video in the series, this is video 3. Go back to the first one. I suggest going back and starting from the beginning because we're going to get into topics that kind of build on the previous topics. So check that out, please. We've talked a lot about you must be, not act. And we've talked about being objective with yourself and making a list of things that you might want to change. And now we're talking about the problem I think a lot of people have with self-help and why it gets such a bad rap is there's a certain thing that happens in your mind when you have hope for a change. When you have hope for change, for something positive and better, you get a chemical change in your mind. You get hormone releases that make you feel good. And those are good things. But a lot of people stop there. They start feeling better. So they don't actually do the thing they set out to do. They don't act. They just sit back and go, that's cool. Yeah, I want to be this someday. And then they never really do it. And so that's really the problem with self-help is people don't get out there and do it. And so you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to get in there and get dirty, or it's not going to be lasting. What's going to happen is you're going to feel good for a little while, and then you're going to be in your old habits still. And so those old habits are going to generate negative feelings for you. You're going to be feeling right back the way you were. You're going to be right back in that bad place, and you're going to be going, wait, what the heck? I know what I'm doing. Why do I feel this way? Because you didn't do it. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So what causes us not to act? What's one of the barriers to act, or many barriers I'm probably going to talk about all in succession here, is one, I think people are afraid to fail. That's probably the biggest one I see. I think it affects women more than men in some ways, and I don't know exactly why. Maybe there's a card for that, hopefully. Because women or men, I do believe we are different. And good and bad, there are pros and cons to being either of those things. But we have a problem with failure. In Western society, it's not okay to fail. The weird thing is, failure is what leads to success, because almost no one succeeds on their first try. So if you don't try, it'll never happen, obviously. And you know what? If you're not okay with failure, you're still not going to make it probably, because you're probably not going to succeed on the first try. You're going to need a bunch of attempts. So you're afraid of failure is really what it is, I think. And there's a certain barrier to entry on these things. The first step is always the hardest. Something I learned a long time ago with trying to overcome large barriers or complete large projects is a great analogy is when you want to climb a mountain, don't stare at the summit the whole time. Don't stare at the summit before you start. Just look at your feet and take one step, and then take another step, and focus on the one step. And eventually you're going to get there. But if you stare at that summit, you're going to be overwhelmed with fear and anxiety and feelings that you're not going to be able to do it, because that's what you've been taught. That's what you've learned about yourself, is you can't do things. But that's not really true. You can really probably do whatever you want. It's really, do you want to do it? And do you know how to do it? And then you have to do it, right? Knowing how is great, but you have to step out of your door, right? Or you have to take that first step to like approaching a woman. That's really tough. I'm still dealing with that too. It's not easy. It's one of the last things I'm kind of conquering. But you have to approach that fear and anxiety. And yet the first step is the hardest. So you have to act. Most of our fears are not real anyway. They're not real. They're from a time when we lived in small groups of 50 to 100, and if you got ostracized from the group and separated out into the wild, you pretty much died. So our fear of social separation is a huge old animal fear. It's a primate fear, and it makes sense in the primate world. But we're not primate. Well, we are primates, but we don't live in that world anymore. I live in a city with like 8 million people or something. If I fall out with one group, there are hundreds of other groups. If I lose this friend, I can make another one. If I approach 100 women and they all turn me down, there's 1,000 more I can approach. That fear is ridiculous. these social fears are really ridiculous because they can't really hurt us. Those things can't really hurt us. A train hitting us? That can hurt us. Falling on these rocks and cutting my face? That can hurt us. That's why I have these trekking poles, okay? I don't want to fall on my face. That's a real fear. I'm spitting all over the place. Hopefully you can't see that on camera. But anyway, these social fears are not real. These fears we have of what's inside of us and the monsters within and our demons, they're not real fears. They can't hurt us. They're already hurting us. Every day that we don't change them, don't get rid of them, that's hurting us. So we've got to be able to act and overcome the fear and get in there and do the work and say, you know what, I'm going to be fine. It's not a big deal. Millions and billions of people before me have done this. Well, maybe millions. This is something not many people do. But you got to get out there and act and take that first step and move forward. And you got to think of it as fun. It's a fun time. And if you can make it exciting, like I did not want to make this video. I'll be really honest. I just wanted to pack up and jam. And I was like, look, I don't want to put all this camera gear up. I'm tired of packing and unpacking. And I thought, you know what? When am I going to get an opportunity by sitting by this creek to make a video in an environment that you guys don't get to see that often? It's a little different. It's a little nuanced. It's a little novelty for you guys and for me. I mean, I'm out here trying to record. It's quiet and nice and peaceful. This is the time to record. This is how you change, right? You're seeing me do it right now. Is I don't want to do something and I just put the energy in and just do it. That's it. That's the whole secret. Once you get better at forcing yourself to do things, it gets easier to force yourself to do stuff. To put that person that says no in the back, deny that person, deny that voice and say, no, I'm going to do the hard thing. And as you do the hard thing more and more, it gets easier. This is called exposure therapy. That's the technical term for what I'm talking about. As you expose yourself to this fear or this thing that's difficult, it becomes easier and easier to do. Probably several cards up here, probably a series on how your mind works, on how that habits change and what parts of your mind are involved with that and how they evolved and why, and knowing the parts of your mind and how they work and how they evolved is, I think, paramount to change, because we have to know our system, because this is the system we have to work with. So check those out too, if you have the time and inclination. This has been my path, and I'm telling you, over the last 2 years, I'm a completely different person. I'm completely different. Was I a good person back then? Was I good at what I do? Yes. Am I much better now? I almost can't even remember what it was like to be that person. That's how much I've changed. So it's worth it. Keep going. So tool one for how you can act is something that I heard. I think the term is called reductionism. And I talked about it a little bit, about taking large things and breaking them down into pieces. So let's say you pick something you want to change. I don't know, let's say it's big, like you have some narcissistic tendencies, let's say. That doesn't mean you're diagnosable. A diagnosis of narcissism is a pretty extreme version of that, but that doesn't mean on that slider we don't have some things we want to change. Say that's one of the things. You do some research, you pick out some points off that DSM-5 list, which link that in the video description for checking that stuff out. But you pick out the bullets that you think you might have or want to work on. You're already doing it. You're doing a reductionism approach. You're breaking it down in smaller pieces. Break that down further into how to make this into something that I can tackle in small pieces and actually turn this into steps, not the whole journey, right? I want to turn this large project into steps so I can take those steps that John was talking about. There's a card up for that on how to break projects down into smaller pieces, which is part of my production series, which I really can't wait to record. It's how I get things done. So that's tool one. Tool two, give yourself an incentive. This doesn't necessarily work for me. I did try it, but try it. It might work for you. One of the things I try to do is, like, I like craft beer a lot, and I buy 4-packs of really amazing beer, and I try to say, okay, if I don't get my daily list done, or 2/3 of it, or 3/4, or whatever I'm going for, my goal, I can't have a beer that night. So I incentivized myself to say, if I want this thing that is really cool and something I really like, then I have to do all these other things I don't want to do to get that thing. Some people that really works for, it didn't work for me, but try it. There's also an app I found that's kind of a, if you're a video gamer, it's kind of a gaming app that can help you do this. You make goals and lists and stuff, and every time you mark something off, you get XP and you level your character and get you get like equipment and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat. I'm gonna post a link to that video description in the video description. So incentivize yourself. Your incentive might be Friday, I'm not gonna do anything. No work, right? It's just gonna be fun stuff Friday. But I have to do 3 out of the 4 other days of really productive work. I have to get everything done 3 out of the 4 other days. Then I can have my Friday of just screwing off and doing nothing. That's an incentive, right? So sometimes that works for people. Other incentives, well, it didn't work for me, so you're gonna have to check that out for yourself, but just Google it. There's gonna be tons of ideas on incentivizing growth and things like that. Try that. Tool 3 is find support. Find people who are doing this kind of growth or who understand that growth is valuable, friends, family, and ask if you can check in on with them every once in a while, or if they'll check in on with you, or ask them what they're working on and try to form kind of a little bit of a teamwork scenario going on there. I've seen that really helped me. Sometimes helping someone else actually gives me ideas for my own growth. So that can be really good for you as well. Try that. But finding that support really does help, especially when you're going through a tough time. You can reach out to these support people and say, man, I'm having a tough time. I can't act. And they might say, dude, look, come out, let's do something. Let's hang out together. Let's do one of these things together. Or they might just talk you through it. And sometimes just talking to someone and having that emotional support really does help. So find support. Tool 4 is Habit Tracker. This has helped me a lot. And Habit Tracker works great mostly for trying to change your habits. There's going to be a card in the description, or up in that corner for that. This is part of my production series, but it really helps with changing habits. I have one where, like, let's say I don't want to drink that week unless it's social drinking, I'm out with friends or something. So I put that up, and every day of the week I check it off if I hit that habit goal. Okay, I've got 6 habits usually I track per week, and I check them off as I'm trying to change those habits. What I'm trying to do is change the way my mind thinks about things, and I'm acting to try to do the difficult thing. And as I do, I build up that momentum of it's easier to do the second, the third, the fourth time because I'm already doing it, and it's easier to say no to myself or to say yes if it's something good, like working out. It just becomes easier as you do it more often. That's just the way our minds work. Act, analyze, document, adjust, and act again. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. I'm sure hopefully you know what that's from. But that's true. You've got to, again, you're expecting at least, maybe if not outright failure, to want to improve on your last attempt, right? Or your last success even. Success is not a point on a timetable. It's usually a progression of being more successful as you do something over and over and over again. So I would document it. I do this sometimes. I don't do it with everything. I document the things that I've noticed so I can change those things specifically. Because what I've noticed is I have epiphanies, or in the moment I have whoa, and I don't write it down, like my little list for how to change my backpacking experience to make it better. If I don't write it down, I don't change it because I forget. So write it down in the moment, document it, figure out how to adjust, go back, try again, document that. It's just keep doing it over and over and over. Edison, it's told he spent 1,000 tries to get the light bulb to finally work. Now, really, I'm pretty sure it's Edison's engineers took 1,000 attempts and came up with the light bulb, and Edison just got credit because he owned it. But anyway, that's a story for another day. That's why Tesla quit working for him, kind of. So anyway, interesting stuff. But yeah, you want to document so you can keep getting better, and that actually is going to help you want to try again, because then again becomes something fun to do, becomes kind of like a achievement to try to attain, or some kind of path. Make the path fun, make the journey fun. The goal is great and everything, but the journey needs to be fun, and that kind of makes it more fun. So again, on the next video, we're going to talk about we're going to get more into once you start not quitting until you succeed. So you need to go back and redo, right? You need to go back to 3 and act again. And you need to keep doing it until it's good enough. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to talk about that on the next video, hopefully. But it's really something to be aware of, is you got to keep going. It's really hard to even do it the second time. And so we're going to talk about tools on how to keep going. So please check out that video. If you did like this video, hit like and subscribe and hit the bell notification if you want to see more of these videos. Obviously, there's tons of content here. And I would love to hear what you think in the comment section of how you take that first step, any tools you've found to help you make those first moves and overcome fears. We would all like to hear. This is just my opinion. It's not the only way. I'm sure there are lots of other ways that work. And again, for other people, I'm the certain kind of person, and you might be a different kind of person, and maybe somebody in the comment section has a better idea for you. So please put those in the comment section. I'd love to. I read all the comments, and I would love to hear what you have to say. And maybe it'll spurn another video. Maybe that'll have me talk about something. Maybe I'll get some ideas. Anyway, I will see you on the next video. Stay frosty.